Tonight, wildfires are forcing people from their homes in multiple communities on the Avalon.
No one knows nothing. No one knows who's doing it or what's on the go. If there's someone starting them, I think they should be caught.
Well, it's unlikely that they're natural causes, so they're highly suspicious.
In Adams Cove, there are fears an arsonist is behind a string of wildfires. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Heather Gillis, filling in for Carolyn Stokes this week. Tonight, there are two major wildfires burning on the Avalon, and one is forcing some people in Holyrood out of their homes. People who live on the Conception Bay Highway from Beaumont Place to the bridge that is entering the community, including all the side roads, have to evacuate. Drivers are asked to avoid the area and instead take the Trans-Canada Highway. The town says people can shelter at the Robert French Memorial Stadium in Conception Bay South, and the CBS Arena has also accepted evacuees until about an hour ago. The CBC's Jenna Head is in Holyrood right now. So Jenna, what's the latest?
Well, residents from the town of Holyrood had a bit of a detour when they were on their way home from work today. The police had the road leading into the municipality completely blocked off. The only people that could return home were those who lived in town to quickly gather their things or those who were already leaving. Right now, I am in front of Sliding Ranch. There are lots of horses and farm animals here that are currently being evacuated. We just saw some, freak out as they were getting put into the back of tractor trailers. And of course, this is a part of a widespread evacuation in the municipality. Now, Holyrood is only a few minutes from Conception Bay South, and residents, they're feeling unnerved. I will say that. We will be heading to the CBS Arena now shortly, where there is a warming center set up. And of course, smoke has billowed across the community. You can't see it so much here now, but you can certainly smell it. The St. John's Regional Fire Department has asked residents to turn off their HVAC systems as well as any air exchangers because of the smell of smoke that is coming in through the town. And then we have also heard that this was not a structure fire. That was something that we had previously reported. Instead, it is a wildfire. So it has been confirmed that there is a wildfire in Holyrood. This is just, a couple hours away from the one we are seeing in Conception Bay North, which you can see in parts of this area. We were at Topsail Beach earlier today, and you can see the smoke.
Okay, that's the CBC's Jenna Head reporting. Thank you, Jenna. The communities of Small Point, Adams Cove, Blackhead, Broad Cove, and Kingston are being evacuated again. A wildfire is burning only 1 kilometer away, and it's one of several fires in the area this summer. Residents are worried about the cause. The CBC's Laura Howell.
Behind me, you can see wildfires are blazing. Water bombers have been flying overhead, dumping water. There's black smoke. We've seen flames licking up. This is just one of multiple fires here this summer. Residents say more than 10, around a dozen. And people here are scared and asking a lot of questions. People like Marie Kennel have been at the community center all day, preparing food for firefighters and community members. Marie says people have been scared since a fire destroyed multiple homes here back in May.
It was devastating. It's happening too often in our communities. And like you said, everyone around here are really upset over it. There's a lot of questions. And because we're not getting no answers.
Many people I've spoken to believe this has to be arson. It's just too many fires to be coincident. Mayor Curtis Delaney agrees the fires are suspicious.
The timings of all the fires, they're all very similar and very similar circumstances to when they've similar weather conditions, those types of things. I mean, if you stack them up side by side, like I said, they're all almost cookie cutter. So that's what makes them definitely suspicious. And the area, I mean, it's confined within our town for the most part.
When we hear concerning things that there's potentially that could have been caused by arson, that is really, really concerning. We're looking right now into doing some enhanced patrols in the area that we're talking about. besides the investigation into the fire starts. We have had a lot of fires this season.
For now, residents here are hoping that this fire will be the last. Laura Howells, CBC News, Broad Cove.
Yeah, the fire risk has been high for a good chunk of the summer already, and today is no different. Take a look at this. Other than the west coast of the island, areas through central and eastern areas of the island are either high to extreme, and this is not going to change as we head through the week because the weather is just going to continue to be hot and dry as we go through this week. Now, just taking a look at the smoke on the satellite, we can see that one fire with the smoke mainly going offshore right now. And then we've got the other fire just to the south there, which you can see just barely showing up on the satellite and radar right now. And those winds at the moment are out of the southwest, and they'll continue to be out of the southwest through the night, eventually moving more to westerly winds through the night as well. Now, just taking a look, we have a special weather statement in effect for the northern portion of the Avalon. We're looking at that continuing as well. But like I said, hot, dry weather right through the week. I'll get into all those details coming up a little later.
Thank you, Ashley. A fire has also displaced residents of a downtown St. John's condo building. Cavendish Condominiums was evacuated early Sunday morning after the building filled with smoke. Residents got out safely, but a firefighter was injured. Jeremy Eaton has more.
In my years with the fire service, this is the first time that we've had anything as monumental as what we had here early that morning.
Burned out cars were removed from the building's underground garage today. On Sunday morning, these cars caused a lot of grief for the folks who live here and the firefighters trying to get them out.
It's a worst case scenario. We are dealing with a working structure fire in a big commercial building, multiple units, and multiple residents trapped looking for escape.
A resident of the building told CBC he was woken up at around 2:30 Sunday morning by two firefighters who told him to get out of the building. Fire crews cut the railings on balconies to help people get out of the building.
A lot of power wires. So now we had to bring a ladder truck down there and get the ladder up with the bucket, get the bucket over to these platforms you see behind me here, get these individuals out over rails. Very problematic. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here.
Everyone got out safely, and some residents were taken to hospital. However, one firefighter fell while battling the blaze.
So the individual fell over 16 feet from a back stairwell with full breathing apparatus on, suffered significant damage, but he was rushed to hospital. He's making a good recovery. We're very, very happy about that. It could have been so much worse. You know, when I'm ready to retire, I'll look at this fire, and not so much the fire, but all the variables involved and how it all came together for a successful conclusion. I'll look at this as one for the memory books, and I'm really proud actually when I look at the effort that was made and the conclusion that our staff managed to do this, pull this off with the great conclusion that we have. It really makes me fill up with pride.
For the residents who call this building home, it could be a while until they're allowed back into their beds. Now, as for what caused this fire, the RNC says that's still under investigation. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
In other news, a private rehabilitation centre on Salmon Line is getting a boost from government. The province has promised to cover the services with MCP. As Ryan Cook reports, this comes as demand for inpatient rehab is rising and wait times have been getting longer.
Vida Nova Recovery will soon breathe new life into an old camp and give people a shot at a new life for themselves. The centre, due to open in the coming months, was born from one man's own struggle with addiction.
My father told me this incredible quote one time when he looked at me. He said, "Ryan, your darkest days are going to give you your best days." And that's this facility.
Ryan Kirby's team is building something Newfoundland and Labrador sorely lacks. Detox, rehab, transitional housing, all available in one place without wait times between each stage. But for 18 months, he says they struggled to bring the provincial government on board. That led to a public letter last week urging MHAs to voice their support for the project. The result? A promise from the health minister to cover the cost of services through the province's medical care plan.
How huge is it to get MCP coverage? It's monumental, really, because our philosophy from the beginning has been no one gets left behind. We want to have universal support for everyone. So the fact that we've been able to work with the government and come to an agreement that MCP will support our clients is astronomical.
This comes at a time when the province desperately needs help. Referrals for inpatient rehabilitation have shot up 50% in the last 5 years, and median wait times have nearly doubled. In Labrador, advocate Keith Fitzpatrick says those wait times can be lethal.
We have people locally who just finished paperwork and they're being told 16 weeks.
How dangerous is that when you know that you want to get help and you have to wait as long as 16 weeks to get in to get help?
16 weeks is a death sentence for a lot of people suffering addictions.
The provincial government only has 2 inpatient rehabilitation centres for adults, one in Harbour Grace and one in Corner Brook. Fitzpatrick says the province didn't add any capacity to those centres as the demand rose over recent years, making the need for private clinics all the more important. Vita Nova says it just makes sense to cover those private services through MCP.
I see people come in all the time in the emerge, and a single emerge visit, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, and to put that money towards treatment to prevent that relapse and overdose and death risk and all the complications related to that is going to save all of us taxpayer money.
Vita Nova could open its doors as early as September and hopes to add 24 inpatient beds by the end of the year, growing to 54 at full capacity. The goal? To save as many lives as possible. Ryan Cook, CBC News, Salmon Ear Line.
In other news, a fatal plane crash in Deer Lake last weekend has left a family from the other side of the globe shocked and grieving. Here again is the CBC's Jenna Head.
The shock that rippled through the town of Deer Lake last weekend is also being felt in India. A small plane crash on Newfoundland's west coast claimed the lives of 2 people, the 54-year-old pilot and 27-year-old passenger Gautam Santosh. Gautam's sister was the first one to hear of the loss.
Everybody is devastated because such a thing, no one would dream of it happening, right? No one would even imagine such things happening.
Santosh says her brother died doing what he loved. He was a passenger, but trying to gain flight hours to become a pilot.
He really dreamt to be a pilot, and he knew that ever since childhood that he wants to be a pilot and nothing else.
Santosh says her brother used to draw planes everywhere as a child. His parents encouraged him to study mechanical engineering in university, but Santosh says he dropped out in his second year to chase his dreams and catch a flight.
He just loved it. He used to be like, I flew this many hours, I flew 12 hours, I flew straight. It was amazing. Even after his first flight, this is all he had to say.
Santosh said her mother heard from Gautam on Saturday before the tragic flight. He wasn't scheduled to work, but he picked up the shift to gain experience with a senior pilot. She's shaken by their last conversation.
Just before going, that particular day, he had called my mom and said, see, I'm going to the airport. It's my off day, but there's some work that I need to do. And after that, I'm taking rest. So the last word he said that he's taking rest, so which is still hurting my mom so much that she didn't think that it will end in such kind of a rest.
Santosh describes her brother as a gentleman. Less than a year apart, she said they were raised like twins. In September, he had plans to come home and return to India for Onam, an annual cultural festival and harvest.
He said he'll come in September again for Onam. He's like, I'll surprise mommy. I won't tell her I'm coming. I'll come here. She won't know. I'll surprise mom.
Now they're hoping to bring home what they can of her brother's remains.
This was a twin engine flight, and it was supposed to fly for 8 to 10 hours or something. So that much fuel, and the crash happened right after takeoff. Caused a really huge explosion. It was a big tragic. So we still do not know how much is left. We need him back because in India, I'm sure you know, we have some last rites and things to be done.
The crash is currently under investigation by the Transportation and Safety Board of Canada. The cause of the crash has not been identified. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
Welcome back to Here and Now. The annual Peter Pan Festival is marking its 100th anniversary in Bowring Park. The CBC's Julia Israel was there.
There was really details. You just need to pay close attention. If you could see there's mice.
The statue of Peter Pan tells an eternal story, a cornerstone of Bowring Park. The piece is one of 7 others around the world just like it, but it's the only one with a special dedication to the children of Newfoundland.
There's fairies, lizards, frogs, and Peter Pan. Yeah.
In 1918, Betty Munn was just 3 years old when the sinking of the SS Florizel took her life, along with 93 others. Her grandfather, Sir Edgar Rennie Bowring, commissioned the statue for her memory to live on forever. 100 years later, the children of Newfoundland celebrate.
When you come to the statue and visit it, what does it make you feel?
Youthful, I think. Being young and just that inspiration to tell stories to our children. And I've been here and visiting since I've been young with my family, and now my new young family. So carrying on those traditions is very special.
At the annual Peter Pan Festival, today's kids eat cotton candy and other treats, just like the children of 1925 and their grandkids here today.
My grandmother used to come in from Bay Roberts in the 1930s on train, and she would spend her summers in St. John's, and she loved to come to Bowring Park. It was always special.
Face painting, music, and games. For Bowring Park Foundation Chair Galen Gulliver, the festival is not just for the little ones.
Because the park is for everybody, and I feel when you come to the park, you become a kid. It's like a time machine, Bowring Park. I think there's very few people who haven't walked around that statue, touching the little animals and looking up and admiring Peter. And it's a symbol of eternal youth and childhood, and the child in all of us.
Julia Israel, CBC News, Bowring Park, St. John's.
Sea urchins at the Bond Bay Aquarium are now sitting in style. The CBC's Amy Fian has the details.
They're looking sharp. Well, more than normal. The sea urchins here at the Bombay Aquarium are showing off some new 3D printed hats. But the staff wasn't only thinking about style when they made the hats for their sea urchins. They say urchins regularly pick up and wear objects in their surroundings. It's an activity called hatting.
They will wear light objects from rocks, shells, even pieces of garbage if it's in the water. They'll wear absolutely anything that they can pick up.
The exact reason why sea urchins do this is not fully known, but there are a few ideas.
Either to camouflage or just to be less appetizing, because I guess predators shouldn't eat rocks or something like that. Another theory is that it weighs them down. So if it's very wavy, it makes them heavier so that they don't get knocked out of place.
After seeing other aquariums give their own sea urchins hats, the Bombay Aquarium reached out to the Corner Brook Public Library to make use of their public 3D printing service. Jeff Tucker is one of the library technicians who handles their 3D printer orders, and he says in terms of strange requests he's received, urchin hats are at the top of the list.
I think that might be the most unusual request that we've gotten. We have gotten a few other more unusual ones. We did do an ocarina for somebody a few years back. People's Dungeons and Dragons figurines. The hats for sea urchins is definitely not something that I would have expected to get here. Yeah.
Tucker also hadn't heard of sea urchins hatting before.
I was a little surprised. I didn't know that they like to wear hats and things, but it's very cool that they do.
And he's not alone in learning about the sea creature's unusual habit. People visiting the aquarium are now asking more questions about these marine animals.
It's a good opening for us to explain, yes, this is a silly situation, but this is actually a real behavior that sea urchins do. This is some of the reasons why it might do it, and so and so.
Amy Fian, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the Paul Rental Center in St. John's is closed yet again due to issues with the building. This time it's to fix heating and cooling equipment. Good news for parents, though. Day camps will keep going with some extra field trips. The city says it's going to give an update on the rec center's reopening on Wednesday. Back in June, it closed because the ceiling near the building's main entrance collapsed. Welcome back to Here and Now. We've got some breaking news to tell you about. An update on the wildfire burning near Holyrood. The town of Conception Bay South is issuing a precautionary notice. People living in the west end of that community, west of Seal Cove Road, should be ready to leave their homes. So that is a fairly big update, just in case the fire does move towards that area.
Yeah, the town will be issuing updates on its social media page. Meanwhile, NL Hydro says non-essential personnel have been evacuated from the Holyrood thermal generating station plant, and normal activity at the plant has ceased. And Hydro says the plant wasn't running today because of summer maintenance.
Okay, so some fairly big updates there for people in that area. And Ashley, I know you're still keeping your eye on the wildfire. Yeah. Some pretty warm temperatures in the province as well.
It certainly is warm. We've had, quite a bit of dry weather. Just taking, a look back just quickly this afternoon, taking a look at some of the numbers as far as rain goes, 50%, really anywhere from 20 to 50%. Of our normal rain we saw in the month of June and July, around 50% as well. So not a whole lot of rain out there. This is something that we've been talking about all summer long, and we're starting to get into, again, another stretch of hot and dry weather as we get through this week. So today, no different. 24 degrees in St. John's. Temperatures through central west coast all sitting in the low to mid 20s, even along the south coast of the island into the teens, upper teens. Now for Labrador, you saw temperatures in the teens today, a little on the cool side, but towards the coast, at least the southeast, temperatures between 20 to 23 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite and radar right now, we did see some cloud cover this afternoon. Few showers rolling through central at the moment as well. Looks like they're gone now, but for the most part, you're looking at the chance of showers for the next couple of hours. And then I've added the relative humidity to this as well, because when we talk about low relative humidity, fires like that, they want the low humidity because they are able to spread a lot better. So right now we're dealing with relative humidities in the 30s and 40s across a good chunk of the northern Avalon, and this isn't going to change. We're not going to see that humidity really climbing until we head into towards the end of the week. Now, the other thing you may have noticed today, before we saw that special air quality statement in effect this afternoon, we did see some hazy skies, and that will be the story in the upper atmosphere. These are from the fires out west, really, and through central portions of Canada, but we're going to continue to see that. Now, local smoke as well from these fires, that will continue tonight, and eventually we will see the upper level smoke anyway move out, but we'll continue to deal with that local smoke for as long as those fires are burning across the northern portion of the Avalon. Now, as far as what's going to happen over the next couple of days, as I was mentioning, we are sitting under this big ridge of high pressure. Essentially, a heat dome is developing again and will continue as we head through the week. And this is just going to allow that air to warm up. It's going to sit over us. The weather over the next couple of days, really for the next 7 to 10 days, is going to be relatively quiet, and that means the dry conditions will continue as well. Now, as we head towards the end of the week, we are going to start to see those temperatures warm up. We're dealing with more in the way of some humidity moving in as well, but we're not going to see any rain. That will be the story. This is moving. This is moving through Thursday and Friday. There's nothing on this map, and it won't be until we head towards the weekend, and the best chance of seeing showers will be for the western portion of Labrador and the north coast. So it is very important through this week to be very fire smart. So over the next couple of hours, we may see a few showers in the mix there for central areas of the island. Other than that, maybe coastal areas of Labrador, but you're not going to see anything past that. We're looking at our overnight lows tonight, sitting somewhere in the teens, 12 to 15 degrees. Labrador, you're going to be sitting somewhere between 8 to 10 degrees. The other thing is the winds. The winds are going to stay out of the southwest. They're going to eventually move west and then northwest as we head through the day tomorrow. But the winds will ease a little bit. We're looking at those only around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour tonight, and then into tomorrow, only around 20 kilometers per hour. But they will shift to northeasterlies. That's going to keep those temperatures cooler along north-facing coasts, anywhere from the upper teens to low 20s, through central low 20s as well. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your daytime highs between 19 to 22 degrees. Like I said, more heat, more sunshine in the long range. I'll get into that a little later.
Thanks again, Ashley. The trial for a man accused of exploiting vulnerable teens is set to go ahead later this month, even though he wants the case tossed. 64-year-old Tony Humby is facing 72 charges related to 11 youths over the span of nearly 20 years. He was scheduled to begin trial in March. However, it's been hung up for several months due to a series of pretrial applications by the defense lawyer. Humby's lawyer wants charges stayed, saying his rights have been violated because of delays getting to trial. The trial's first witnesses are expected to be called on August 27th, with a decision on that so-called Jordan application later. Returning now to one of our top stories, a weekend fire in St. John's sent a handful of people and one firefighter to hospital. Contractors are working on cleaning up the mess, and the St. John's Regional Fire Department platoon chief is reflecting on how crews were able to put out those flames without any loss of life. Here's more of what Mike Hall had to say earlier today.
In my years with the fire service, this is the first time that we've had anything as monumental as what we had here early that morning. The possibility for things to go off the rails and catastrophic loss in terms of a life loss was significant. So there's a lot of things playing through your mind. Luckily, I was surrounded by a great crew, very, very efficient staff. The captain that was basically in charge of this event, he's a 34-year veteran of the fire department, very capable individual. I really relied on him. He's actually a couple of years senior to me, so he was a great resource. What happens when you get something like this, you got to take a deep breath, you take a step back and say, let's set our priority level here. What are we dealing with? Well, the first priority, besides getting to the seat of the fire and attacking the fire, is rescue, life over limb. So how do we get these individuals out of this building? And as you see here to my left, a lot of power wires. So now we had to bring a ladder truck down here and get the ladder up with the bucket, get the bucket over to these platforms you see behind me here, get these individuals out over rails. Very problematic. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here. And the potential for something to go off the rails as this is unfolding is even more problematic. So the fact that this went down the other night in a very systematic manner with no loss of life. So we had what's called interior attack crews. We had interior crews searching the building. Luckily, the building manager was on site when we arrived the other night, so he had the master keys. He gave us the lay of the land, per se, what apartments we should search. He knew that some apartments, the people weren't in them, so that saved us some time. So we went door to door, the interior attack crews went door to door with the keys. We were able to get people out. We were able to get them out to the balconies because we couldn't go down through the stairwells. The building was full of black, heavy smoke. So we were able to go to the stairwells, and you'll see the railing cut off. We use circular saws, reciprocating saws to cut the rails, because you're talking about elderly people, you know, and they're not nimble enough to get up over these rails and get into a bucket of a ladder truck. It's very frightening. I mean, just 3 o'clock in the morning, the place is, you know, it's very chaotic. And as this is unfolding, there's a full raging commercial fire going on in this garage here with no egress. So for our staff going into this, trying to put these fires out, it's like walking into a stone oven. Very, very hot. Looking for the car fires, and I got the report from the contractor here, so it's 16 vehicles that have received heavy damage. Most of them are written off. I'm really proud, actually, when I look at the effort that was made and the conclusion that our staff managed to do this, pull this off with the great conclusion that we have. It really makes me fill up with pride.
Well, sometimes athleticism is just athleticism, and training for more than one sport can translate into another. That's what happened to Will Walburn. He landed a spot on the Canada Games roster by raising the bar on a skill he already had.
My name is Will Walburn. I'm from Fogo Island, Newfoundland, and I'm competing in high jump.
We were very lucky to find him. We didn't have many jumpers, and my son said, well, look at the high jump. We could definitely get someone from basketball. There's this one guy who can dunk over people. Wow. And I said, well, if he can dunk over people, he should be able to high jump. Yeah. And sure enough, he can.
We started probably mid-May. Wasn't a lot of time. We've probably only had about a handful of sessions. So just put it on. I was worried first off, I guess I wouldn't be good enough having no background in it, but very quickly we found the similarities and found that there's actually some natural talent with it.
He's a freakish jumper. Like, you have to see him in action. He's got calves like Popeye. He can just jump. He's a natural jumper.
Well, I mean, I've been obsessed with jumping in general since I was about 15. So, luckily enough, yeah, it all ended up working out. Might not have been in basketball, but I'm glad it can be used somewhere else. I guess there is a little bit of imposter syndrome with it, but that's it. I'll take the opportunity as it comes. With such little training time, not that I'm going to go win in Canada Games, but we're hoping to beat Newfoundland's record of 200 centimeters. 200 centimeters might be 6'6" or something. Looking at that, it's not so bad. A lot of the dunks I do when we're setting up for them and doing them for fun is jumping over people. I've did them over like 6'6", 6 foot people, so it's not completely out of the question. Most of it is just getting your hips over it, and I guess jumping over somebody, like my hips have to come up. So I know I can clear 6 feet plus.
He has the potential to do it. I hope he can just pull it all together on that one day. We just wish we had him a year ago, or more.
After the games, I'm not sure. I won't be eligible to compete in another one. Being 21 now, 4 years time, I'll be over the 23 age limit. But I don't know. I would think about going to school and I guess jumping for a team, and I'm not sure how it's done, I guess individually away from a program. But by the looks of it, it's something I'm going to look into.
As of Friday, Marine Atlantic ferry rates for passengers are cheaper by 50%, but not for commercial traffic. And the Board of Trade in this province has some questions about that. So we are joined by Anne-Marie Boudreau, and she is the CEO of the Board of Trade. Anne-Marie, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for being here.
So tell us a little bit about your concern about rates for commercial traffic.
Yeah, so we saw last week the Prime Minister made some reductions with respect to Marine Atlantic passenger fares, which is a nice step, and it certainly is helpful, and anything that is done in delivering on a campaign commitment is good to see. In addition, from an affordability perspective, also good to see. So pleased to see that announcement. I think where this announcement fell short is that there wasn't anything in there for commercial vehicles. We did see a freeze on rates, but there wasn't the same sort of extension or assistance that was given to the other Atlantic provinces made available for Marine Atlantic or traffic kind of coming through the Gulf to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
What would a reduction in fees for commercial traffic mean to the business community here?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. I'm not even sure what a reduction in fees would do right now with respect to capacity. So I think, you know, what this conversation really does and what the announcement last week highlighted, Newfoundland and Labrador severely depends on Marine Atlantic. And everything coming into the province, 65% of goods coming into the province are coming via Marine Atlantic. 90% of the perishable items coming into the province are coming via Marine Atlantic. So I think what this did, you know, was start kind of a conversation with two kind of messages. One, why was Newfoundland and Labrador traffic from a commercial perspective left out of the announcement? And also, I think it started a really important critical conversation around the capacity of Marine Atlantic and the available space of things coming and going from our province. And that's the conversation that we really want to have right now. And we want to be having that dialogue and ensuring that the federal government and Marine Atlantic are working to ensure that there's available capacity to meet the demand that businesses have here in the province, and that fundamentally Newfoundlanders and Labradorians rely on that service and there being that commercial availability for products to leave and arrive at that port.
And capacity was my next question, because demand is so high this summer with the Canada Games, increased domestic travel with fewer people traveling to the US. What would you like to see with respect to capacity building? What kind of commitments would you like to see from the federal government?
I think we need to be having a broader discussion around what sort of fleet management strategies are at play. We've seen Marine Atlantic asking, you know, for the planning and availability of what does future fleets look like. There are some vessels in that fleet right now that are up for retirement, and there really isn't a known strategy. If you hear, you know, the truckers and the people who work in the trucking industry every day, they're bringing the goods to and from our province every day. They're saying there's no space on the boats. So while it's always helpful whenever you can have a fare reduction for anything, the real crux of this issue right now is that we need to be talking about capacity. We need to be having a conversation of whether or not there's ample capacity to serve our province, our economy, our business community, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who rely on that. And what does the future hold? What is the plan in place for what future demand? We know demand is going to continue to increase. So we need to be having that conversation. And I think watching the Prime Minister stand on Prince Edward Island last week and talk about the reliance that the Atlantic provinces have on a really strong, supported shipping system really highlights the vulnerability that we as an island on the eastern tip of the country of Canada, we are so vulnerable, and we need to be having these conversations now, and we need a commitment from Marine Atlantic and the federal government on what future planning looks like and what sort of demand requirements they can meet.
You've written a long list of politicians to ask them some questions about capacity and these commercial ferry rates. If you had the ear of the Prime Minister, if you could pick up the phone and talk to him, what would you say to him?
I think I would say, in 1949, when Newfoundland and Labrador joined Canada, there was a serious discussion. Someone had the foresight to have the discussion, and that constitutionally mandated service we rely severely and very heavily on. We need to talk about, and it doesn't need to be about rates. And right now, in fact, it really isn't about fares as much as it is about can we service. We have an incredible business community here in our province. our competitiveness is directly impacted by what Marine Atlantic can do, and of course the cost of that and getting things off the island. And just as important, we have a population of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who rely on goods coming via Marine Atlantic. So we need to talk about that commitment that was made. You can't just set that and forget it. You need to be monitoring it, and we need to know that it is mandated and structured in a way that does ebb and flow as the demand here increases, that service is able to meet it.
Anne-Marie, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this with us today.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
A Canadian military aircraft has dropped nearly 10,000 kilograms of food into Gaza. The RCAF transport departed from an airbase in Jordan Monday morning. Mark Carney says Canada is stepping up efforts to ensure aid reaches Palestinians in the enclave. The Prime Minister says Canada is working with international partners to do that and develop a peace plan for the region. Israel recently eased restrictions on food and medicine reaching Gaza. That came in response to outcry from the international community and within Israel's own borders. On Sunday, almost 20 former Israeli security officials issued a joint video message calling for an end to the war. They say the fighting has dragged on for political reasons only. Critics have accused Benjamin Netanyahu of prolonging the war to appease his right-wing coalition partners. Firing up the barbecue and grilling some burgers will cost you more this summer. The price of beef in Canada is surging. Colin Butler explains why.
It's a summer ritual in backyards across Canada. Curling smoke, charred meat, summer's signature scent. But this season, the price tag is rising just as fast as the flames. Ground beef hit a record $14.67 a kilo in May, up 25% from last year and well beyond the rate of inflation.
Beef isn't so expensive that it needs a side of financing just to pay for it, but prices are going to stay pretty high for a while. Sizzling, you might even say.
The cause? Well, demand for beef has always been strong. What's different this year is the drought. Not a one-off, but a stubborn dry spell that's lingered for years, parching Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Last couple of years we've been really affected by the drought.
With no rain for some areas since April, the cost of feed and hauling water has soared. It means cattle farmers like this one are shrinking their herds.
So we've actually reduced our cow herd in Canada down to the lowest levels we've had since the 80s. And in the US, they're down to the lowest levels since the 60s. So that's really tightened the supply up.
When ranchers raise fewer cattle, it means less beef to go around, pushing prices higher right to the butcher block.
We have no problems getting beef, but we just got to pay the higher prices for them.
Even with record prices, the love for beef isn't going up in smoke. Canadians are willing to pay more, and not just for the taste. Trade tensions have fired up a fresh appetite to buy local, and this expert says when it comes to the grill, beef still wears the crown.
There's no really good substitute for a hamburger or a steak on the barbecue. But if you want to have people to get together for a celebration, not many people are going to want a plant protein burger. They want a hamburger.
Because some traditions, even pricier ones, are just too good to give up. Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Welcome back to Here and Now. We have another update on the Holyrood fire now. An evacuation order is now in effect for people living from 1820 Conception Bay Highway to the western boundary of Conception Bay South. The town says additional information will be released as necessary.
Yeah. Meantime, residents from 1375 Conception Bay Highway, which is to Seal Cove Road, to 1820 Conception Bay Highway, including all roads in between, are asked to prepare to evacuate should it become necessary. And residents in the advisory zone are not required to evacuate at this time, but should be prepared in case the situation changes.
Okay, well, we've got some dry weather over the next couple of days, which is not necessarily great for fighting any of these fires.
No.
But what about a little bit further afield?
Yeah, this is basically going to continue, but as we head towards the end of the work week, towards the weekend, we will start to see a little bit of humidity move in. So that is good news, really, but the heat is just going to continue. So this is through Tuesday evening through Wednesday. Big ridge of high pressure setting up stage, which is not going anywhere anytime soon. And that is going to keep the weather hot and dry through really Wednesday morning. We'll see a bit of cloud cover up across Labrador, but that's about it. Overall, our daytime highs are going to sit in the mid-20s, low to mid-20s for most areas. And again, relatively dry with those relative humidities. And then up across Labrador, anywhere from 20 to about 24 degrees will be your daytime highs on Wednesday. And as you can see, plenty of sunshine, a little bit more cloud cover up across Labrador. And we do have that smoke in the upper levels of the atmosphere from the fires in the west. We're going to keep an eye on that because we will start to see some of that smoke yet again. As we head into Wednesday evening and then into Thursday, we may see a few showers up across the north coast of the island, Labrador, but that's it. Again, a little bit varying levels of cloud cover across most of the big land, but it is going to be sunny across all of the island through the day on Thursday. And again, we're starting to see that heat really move in. The relative humidities will start to come up a little bit, but we're talking about daytime highs in the mid to upper 20s. And again, plenty of sunshine across the island. Then Labrador, you're starting to get into some of that heat as well. 26 to 29 degrees. Well, really 25 to 29 degrees for the most, with the exception of along the strait. Your temperature's a little cooler. You're dealing with onshore flow in that time frame on Thursday. Now, taking a look at the long-range forecast, sunshine icons right across the board. And there's those warm temperatures that I was talking about. Friday, Saturday, looking at daytime highs sitting in the 27 to 28 degree range. And this isn't where it ends. As we head into next week, particularly the beginning of next week, temperatures likely to reach the 30-degree mark again, and that will be the story through areas of central as well. We'll see that a little earlier, though. By the time we get into Friday, you will be dealing with temperatures around 29 to 30 degrees. They may even be warmer than this, and lots of sunshine. There is no rain in the forecast until potentially we get into next week. So that is not good news for the fire situation. I showed you that map a little bit earlier. Likely to see very high to extreme fire risk as we head through this week. Then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures warm as well, 28 to 29. This is well above where you should be sitting this time of year. And into western Labrador, you'll finally see a few showers, but that won't be until Saturday. Our weather photo of the day today taken in Deer Park. We've had some beautiful sunsets and beautiful evenings, and this one is no different. Josephine shared this photo with us. If you have any weather photos, we'd love to see them. Send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Just a lovely photo, Josephine, and something nice and serene to leave you with, given the terrible news of so many people being evacuated from their homes tonight, and not necessarily great firefighting weather on the way, because it's going to be hot and it is going to be dry. That's our show for this evening. Thanks so much. Good night.
Good night.